We have often heard the phrase, the birds and the bees. Well, tonight, my audience and I are going to be getting very real.
Kwake yeye alikuwa anataka friends benefit thing. He convinced me that he loved me.
Mulikuwa mumefungua duka. I can see guys are like, aha.
Hata ipata mwingine kama mimi.
No. So wewe umefunga duka?
Kabisa.
Hata haijafunguliwa. When was the last time umechukua selfie?
Last month.
So mulienda nyinyi wawili ama wende ulitumwa?
So if you're expecting the church to have the conversation with your daughter, I'm sorry.
This is Real Talk Season. Real Talk Season 2. I want to thank you so much for supporting this show. Without you, this platform would not be where it is. As you can see, I'm in a new home, a new set, which I totally love. And as always, we have lined up so many interesting topics for you this season, topics that we believe are very relevant to the issues that young people, not only in Kenya, but across the rest of Africa are facing. And kicking off with tonight's show, where we'll be talking about a very hot topic. Welcome to the show.
I can do it alone. I don't need anyone. Like, no one will know my stuff.
You're okay with dating a man who is married?
So long as you give me what I want.
Have you cheated?
Yeah.
Did you regret cheating?
No.
Right, we have often had the phrase, the birds and the bees in American culture. We've had the phrase in Kenyan culture for the girls, don't play with boys. Well, all this talk comes down to one thing, sex. How do parents initiate and talk to their children about sex? Well, tonight on this show, my audience and I are going to be getting real on this topic that is so huge, yet despite how huge and how important it is, we actually do very little to empower our youth to make better choices, and especially when it comes to their sexual life. Well, right now I have an audience full of just young women, and I'm going to be touching this topic from a woman's perspective. Let's find out, what is it like dating today in 2019 in Kenya as a young woman? Welcome to the show. Welcome to Real Talk. I just want to clarify that tonight's topic is purely for educational purposes. The content may be strong, but the context of it is what matters. If you're watching this as a parent, I want to empower you with the tools that you will use to talk to your teenager or perhaps your young adult in the house. If you're watching this as a young adult, the purpose of this show is to empower you so that you can be aware about the dangers that lurk out there, and of course, just so that you can make the right choices to live your best life. And again, I want to remind you that you're always welcome to join the conversation via the hashtag #RealTalkWithTamima on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. Well, right now, let's jump straight into the show. I want to invite my first guest, who is Mary Wanja. Mary Wanja is 26 years old, and like many young women her age, she's frustrated by the kind of guys she's finding on the dating scene. Welcome to the show, Mary. I'm seeing that you clearly got the memo. This is a girls-only audience. Only chicks in the audience. I'll see you. Cindy? Yeah. Yes, and you're wearing pink just like myself.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump straight into it, because you told my producers that you're basically tired as a young woman when it comes to dating. Because anytime you date a guy, you have the right intentions, but unfortunately, how they have been socialized, they don't believe in the whole one guy, one woman type of thing. Maybe tell me more about what was that horrible dating experience that you had?
Okay, I had this guy on 2017. I was dating. Okay, kwangu mimi nilikuwa nimefocus na relationship, but kwake yeye alikuwa anataka friends with benefit thing. So the moment I found out, nikakuwa heartbroken and I hated dating. Yeah, I hated
So
dating.
when you say he wanted friends with benefits type of thing, at the time when you guys were in a relationship, were you celibate or you guys mulikuwa mmefungua duka?
I guess tulikuwa tu tumefungwa duka.
Lakini sasa ukakuja ukadiscover yeye alikuwa tu pale kuenjoy benefits ya duka.
Yep.
So probably was he cheating on you with other girls?
Yeah, nilikuwa nenda place yenye yani kwenye alikuwa nakaa napata maybe condoms and stuff, maybe napata niningo za madem, ukimuliza nakwambia just a friend and stuff.
So was this your first boyfriend?
No.
Okay. So if you had to look back at your entire dating experience, how would you sum it up? Like your experience generally with the guys that you've been with?
I guess it's horrible. Naweza sema tu imekuwa mbaya.
How come?
Because unapata wewe uko serious, uko loyal to somebody, but yeye yuko loyal, unapata stuff ka infection or something. So, you know, as ladies vile tuko sensitive, unapata infection. And wewe mwenyewe unajua umekuwa loyal all the way, but ukimuuliza anasema hapana, I don't cheat on you.
So is this something that you would say it's not just personal to you, but a lot of your friends go through as well?
Oh, okay, unaenda unashare na msee ama beshte yako anakuambia hapana, I don't go through that. So mimi kwangu naweza sema ni kwangu tu peke yangu ni happen ya stuff ka hiyo.
Okay. I'm curious because there you are, you're saying that you're taking all measures, you're having safe sex. And so because you thought that maybe it's a reaction to the brand and you decide now to go without. So at that point, mulichukua selfie? Ama ulikuwa tu umempenda, umemwamini wewe?
Before tuanze kudate tulikuwa tushachukua selfie.
Na ukisema tulikuwa tumechukua selfie because madam tunajua for most guys kuchukua selfie ni wendo utatumwa uchukue selfie, result yako ndo atasema ni yenyu. I want to ask you ideally at what age did you start being sexually active?
23.
At 23 years old. So you were a virgin all the way till 23. What made you choose to break your virginity?
Peer pressure, I bet.
What do you mean when you say peer pressure?
Okay, like mabeshte wangu, my cousins walikuwa wanakuja na niambia, okay, like unasikia vile wanapiga story, and then I was like, okay, fine, wacha niende ni decide.
So yani ulikuwa una feel jue bado wewe ulikuwa umefunga duka, lakini kila mtu amefungua duka. So ukaona hapa hii kufungua duka iko na raha. Ukajaribu.
Yeah.
But I have to applaud you because waiting till 23, I mean, in today's age, there's so much pressure. You're right, there's so much pressure. But if you had to look back at your childhood, and probably let's go back to your parenting, how did your parents talk to you about sex?
Okay, unfortunately, nililelewa na my grandmother. So alikuwa zile tu like, nimelelewa katikati ya maboys. So alikuwa nikiwa katikati ya maboys, niko too safe. But alikuwa ananiambia hata ukua safe katikati ya maboys, you have to take care of yourself.
Yani hiyo tu take care of yourself. Hakuna terms and conditions imeandikwa pale chini. Hiyo tu wewe jichunge.
Okay, like unajua sasa mimi shosho hakuwa iniongelesha about sex, alikuwa anajua inaongeleshwa shule ama kwa church tukienda seminar stuff. So like yeye hangekaa chini akwambie like okay, the only thing alikuwa anaambia mse, since umeanza kunyesha ujue kucheza na maboy, utafanya nini? Uta get ball.
And you raised a very valid point there because I can attest to that as well. For me, my sex education conversation with my parent came when I had my period. And it was don't play with boys.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop. So let me ask my audience, is it true that for most girls that the sex conversation with your mom or your dad or your aunties starts when you get your period? Show of hands, please. So I'm seeing guys who've not raised their hands. Huh? I want to just engage you for a bit. I'm curious, when did the sex education or perhaps that conversation happen for you?
So I'm Sharon Kageha, and I was lucky enough because I grew up with parents, not real parents, but I had an uncle who is a counselor. So at a very tender age of around when I was in class 4, he kept on talking to me about sex education. And at class 6, when then adolescent is so striking, then that's when he really compromised. Not compromised, but he really stressed on sex education. So I got it at very tender age. At class 4, he had already talked to me about true love, waiting and abstaining and stuff like that.
So they didn't wait for your period. It was something that was ongoing constantly. Then now finally when the period came, now they got into the details of it.
Yes.
Okay, anyone with a different experience, please?
Thank you, Tamima. I'm Neema. As for me, it is not about the period thing or talking about sex. Started when I started moving out of the house. And I was like, Mom, I'm going. I'll come back. Then maybe I've gone out. Nimekaa sana, nimemwambia, so mom nakam kesho. So akakuwa like curious, ni nini msichana wangu anafanya siku hizi? Na maybe nilikuwa tu mahali nikachelewa and singe make go back home. So like 2 or 3 times akaniambia, unajua hii life unaishi, they are boys, na these boys are not just your friends, they can be someone else. So just take care.
How old were you then? Venye umesema sasa ile ulianza kulala nje.
20.
Na maana mnacheka.
Like 20 years.
Like 20 years.
Yeah.
So all through your teenage years, nobody talked to you about sex. That conversation never came up.
No.
And if I had to ask you, at what age were you sexually active?
20.
At 20.
Yeah.
So your mom was right. When she started having that discussion with you, that was when that discussion needed to be had.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take the last one, please.
Oh, hi. I'm Ella, and I was lucky enough to have a big sister who was apparently in high school when I was in primary. So when she came out of school, she could like look for time and talk to me and tell me, you know, there are boys out there, there are these and these out there. And she could tell me to take care of myself with the boys and everything. But my mom has never talked to me about sex. She just left it to my big sister and I was good to go.
Okay, so you're one of the lucky ones, whereby also sisters can fill in that role.
Yes.
So you got to learn vicariously through your sister, which is amazing.
Yes.
Okay, let me go back to Mary. So Mary, sasa leo, wewe umesema, umechoka. What would you want to say to any man who is watching this? And perhaps they are looking at you, sema mrembo pale amevaa, kona miguu, beautiful girl, dreadlocks, African woman, and they're like, okay, this girl could be my type. So what are you expecting in your next relationship?
Okay, sahi miaka inasonga. I want a focused guy mwenye is a one-man woman, and then akwe like, okay, if you can't have one woman, just abstain.
Okay, I want to introduce my next guest, Cecilia Munyuri, who is 21 years old, and just like Mary, she's complaining about the quality of guys she's finding on the dating scene. Help me welcome Cecilia. Right, Cecilia, welcome to Real Talk. So you, like Mary, are saying you're tired of the guys who are presently on the dating scene because you feel like they're just out there to take advantage of girls. Maybe tell me, who is this young man who broke your heart?
He was my first boyfriend after I joined campus. So when I met him, I was still naive, and he was built, he was a sportsman, so when he approached me, I think I fell for that, and he convinced me that he loved me. So I fell in love too, and he was a playboy, but I didn't know, and I found out about a year in the relationship, so it was hard for me to go back. So I went on with the relationship despite the situation.
Okay, so you've said a lot. You said first that you are fresher. How old?
19.
19. So he was obviously one of the, should I say studs? Because you said he played sports.
Yeah.
And how old was he?
He was 26.
Wow, so quite an age difference, 7 years age difference.
Yeah.
And so you said a year into the relationship, you figured this guy is now a playboy.
Yeah.
So was he cheating on you with other girls?
Yeah, he was cheating on me with other girls, his exes, and my friends.
So at that time in your relationship, were the both of you sexually active?
Yeah, we were.
Okay. And why do you think it is that despite the fact that there you are in love with this guy, but still he chose to go and do other things with other women?
That's his behavior, I believe so, because I have witnessed other girls go through the same thing. So what he does, what guys like him do is that they have been doing this for long, so they know the right words to say, they know how to get a girl. So I think what he did was just lure me with words, but he didn't actually mean it. He just wanted to get me and then move to the next girl.
So basically it was alikuwa anawinda because wewe ulikuwa fresher.
Yeah.
Stringing you along, got what he wanted, he moved on.
Yes.
So if I had to ask you, because that happened when you were 19,
Yeah.
since then, have you dated? Have you had similar experiences with other guys?
Yes, I have. I dated another guy after him, and I found out too that he was a playboy. Actually, 2 of them after him, and both of them were playboys too, so I decided to take a break.
So with these 2 other guys as well,
Yeah,
mulikuwa mumefungua duka?
with one.
With one.
Yeah.
So despite that, because maybe the other one, the one when ulikuwa umefunga duka naye, pengine utasema it's because ulikuwa umefunga duka that alikuwa anafungua duka na watu wengine?
Yeah, sikufunga duka like that because I was still going back to him. Yeah, even when I had the other guy after I broke up with him, I still went back to the first one. Yes.
Okay, so I'm coming to that. I can see guys are like, Okay, I want to ask you in the audience, have you had a similar experience? And the word that I'll use from what they both said, playboys. Who here feels like I'm tired of playboys?
Have they considered to ask those men questions, like to get the men's perspective on those relationships before they move on to other steps, so that you can avoid luring your lives and maybe changing your thought in men?
Okay, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
Simply based on that. So, do you believe that as a woman, when a man cheats on you, it is upon you to find out why he cheated?
Exactly. It's upon you.
I'm seeing guys are shaking their heads. They're like, no.
It is, yes, you should find a reason why he cheated on you, which is very important. Maybe you're the person who has a problem.
Do you agree?
Yes, yes.
Okay, do you two agree
Yes,
that it is
it's
upon you
true.
to go back, find out why were you cheating on me and kufungua duka na watu wengine despite the fact that I'm in a relationship with you?
I think if the guy respects you, he should tell you without you asking for closure. Yeah.
Okay, let me just get the lady with the green earrings. I saw you shaking your heads. Your earrings were going berserk. You were disagreeing with her statement.
Thank you for the question, Tamima. My name is Catherine. I don't believe that when a guy cheats on you, it's your fault. They're dealing with their own issues, and that should not involve you. If they really love you and you are in a relationship with them, they'll sit you down and talk to you and tell you, Tamima, you're doing this and this and this. That will make me cheat. That I do not agree with. So that you can see, can you change that? And if you cannot change it, then why are you in a relationship in the first place? Thank you.
Okay, so who here can say confidently, Tamima, and just to answer her, Tamima, I was in love with that guy. I know I was a good girlfriend or good wife or good woman, but he still cheated. So shida sisi madem, shida ni lazima tuangalie the other side. My dear, you've raised your hand very...
Thank you, Tamima. My name is Diana. I would say, Mimi, I was the best actually. Hata ipata mwingine kama mimi.
No.
Yes. Ataenda arudi, he even texts anashinda kuniambia come back, I have changed and I can't go back. Juu nikiwa na yeye, I asked him ni nini shida, he wasn't talking. So mimi nikatembeza kiatu. Yes, thank you.
Why do you think, ni nini shida? Wewe ukiangalia in your own opinion, why was he cheating?
Some men are naturally cheaters.
Do you agree some men are
Yes.
naturally cheaters? But to that, just to be fair, because like I told you guys at home, this is a purely female audience. So let me represent the boy child here. Do you agree that also some chicks are also cheaters?
Yes, true.
Has anyone here cheated? And they can be like, Tamima, mimi nilicheat, nina regret, naona mkono pale. Do you believe that women also cheat?
Yes.
Have you cheated?
Yeah.
Did you regret cheating?
Nope.
Okay, tell us more about that.
That guy was cute, like totally cute.
Yet you still cheated on him and his cuteness.
No. I'm talking about the...
Oh, the one you cheated with?
Yeah.
Please tell us more.
Okay, I'm modeler. So like, I was in an event. I met that guy who was also modeling. And I was like, wow, what a guy. So we exchanged number. After that, we talked, whatever. He approached me saying that I love you. Obvious, it was lying. But I didn't care about that because of his cuteness.
So you're the one who confessed that you cheated?
Yeah.
And what was the guy's reaction?
Okay, he was just, why? Nini skupeangi.
Okay, I want to leave you with a question on that because were you two still together after you cheated or you broke up?
Nope, we were together.
So he stayed?
Yeah.
Do you believe, ladies, that usually when a girl cheats, he will leave, but when a guy cheats, you're expected to forgive? Yes. You agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay, on that note, we'll be taking a very quick break. Remember, you can join the conversation via the hashtag #RealTalkWithTamima on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. Let me know what your thoughts, views, and comments are on tonight's topic. Well, right now, don't go too far. We'll be right back.
I can do it alone. I don't need anyone. Like, no one will know my stuff.
You're okay with dating a man who is married?
So long as you give me what I want.
Virgins are, church girls. Umevaa nguo imefika hapa. Welcome back to Real Talk. Remember, you can join the conversation on tonight's topic where we are talking about sex, and it's purely just to empower you as a young person to make the right choices in your life. Tonight, I have a women-only audience. As you can see, an audience full of beautiful young women. Okay, so earlier on, before we went on a break, I left you guys with a question where I had asked my audience, do you think that when a guy cheats, a girl is supposed to forgive him, or when a girl cheats, automatically the guy decides that he can no longer stay in the relationship? So I want to pose it to my audience. Have you been in a situation where perhaps the guy cheated on you and you stayed?
This happened that I loved this guy so much, but then he decided to cheat on me, and this made me, because I loved him, I had to forgive him, despite the fact that I knew that he cheated me with some girls, and I know it because it's a fact.
Do you regret that you stayed with him after cheating?
No, I don't.
Are you still together today?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Anyone who's had a different experience? Let's have the microphone on this side, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Yvonne. I also dated a guy who cheated on me. By then I had self-esteem issues. As you know, PWDs or people with disabilities, it's very hard for us to find love. So by then, I had no confidence in myself, so I decided to stay. But later on, I regretted because I'm now in another relationship, and the guy I'm dating loves me for me.
Okay. Who here cheated on the guy and immediately he was like, it's over, it's a wrap, no questions? Who's had that experience? You cheated on your guy and he was like, once a girl cheats, once a cheater, always a cheater.
Ella, so it happened that I cheated on the guy for like a month, but then he didn't know all through. So when he came to know of it, it was like we just cut the whole story short. Yes.
So he was like, once you cheat, that's it.
Yes.
Final.
Like, yeah, he said that it could be a norm, so he didn't want that to continue happening.
Okay, there you go. So remember, you can join the conversation via the hashtag #RealTalk with Tamima. And right now, I want to introduce my next guest, who is Purity Jabet. Purity is 23 years old, and her experience is a bit different because anasema, she only dates older men. Purity, welcome to Real Talk.
Thank you.
So, I could tell when I said you only date older men, huh? My choir on this side, they were like, oh. So maybe tell us more about that. Because you are 22 years old.
These young boys, drama, whatever.
Which
bro.
drama, Purity?
A young guy, like dating a young guy and dating an older man. Ukidate kijana atashinda kupigia simu. Puche, oh, my other name is Puche. I'm used to being called Puche. Puche, siju umeenda wapi? Puche, you've done this. He's not providing anything. At times, unaeka makeup, anakuambia ati makeup ni mingi. Siju umefanya nini na provide. Yani avla na wadogo tu. They're dramatic. They're... Yeah.
So you agree with her?
Utafind to date mse mkubwa hana stress because most of the older men wamekuwa wameoa, they have their families, wako familia za kushughulikia, hawatashinda wakikusumbua, kuna mabibi za kusumbua, wewe atakuwa akikutunza, wewe atakuwa akikutunza. You only need one thing from you.
Purity, let me ask you, because umesema wale wazee, unajua ni wazee, si ndio? Wako na familia zao. So you're saying that as a young woman, you're okay with dating a man who is married?
So long as you give me what I want, I'm very, very much okay.
So let me just clarify for me, Purity. What do you want? What is it that you want? Because you're saying so long as he gives you what you want, so what do you want?
Okay, what I want is peace of mind. I want definitely money.
You want money?
Yeah.
So far, what have you been asked to do by this man? Umefungua duka?
Definitely, yes.
Umefungua duka?
Yeah.
So to date older men, lazima ufungue duka?
Yeah.
Because that is what they want from you.
That's the price to pay.
And since you said you want money, so how much money do you get?
30,000, 50,000 is too much for me.
Per month, per day, per week?
It depends. You can go out today, he gives you 10K, tomorrow 20K. When you need him, when you shindwa kulipa rent, unlike dating a young guy, utampigia simu, babe, sina rent, hata yeye hana pesa ya rent. Sasa mtashinda hapo, too broke.
Aya, sawa. I don't know, is there anyone who's saying, disclaimer, mimi sikubaliani na hayo. Unaona kule? Wapewe tusikie sauti yao tafadhali. Why do you disagree, my dear?
Because I'm a believer of marriage and I believe that one day I'll get married and I wouldn't want my husband to do that to me. So I don't want to do it to another woman.
Purity, what do you say to that? Do you think that in future you would want to get married?
No.
You don't want to get married. So her point of view that, or rather, do you think you can be in a stable relationship with someone who is exclusively yours?
No,
You don't want that? So you're just happy, someone who provides for you, you don't care whether he has a wife or a girlfriend, as long as Purity gets what she wants.
And as long as Purity is free.
What do you mean when you say as long as Purity is free?
You know, when you're in a relationship, you are like fixed. This guy does not want you to do this, you don't have to do that. So I just want to be free. I just want to do my thing and do my thing bila kukaziwa.
So wewe hautaki ile exclusivity ya relationship. So perhaps let's call him Mr. X, who is older than you. Akona bibi pale na watoto. Anakupea pesa ile unataka. Mr. X pia anatuma, hakusumbui. Munaonana mara moja, mara mbili kwa wiki, hakusumbui. So when Mr. X is not busy with you, he's busy with his other things, Do you date other Mr. X's?
There, why don't I? Wezi date mzee mtu like uko na Mr. X, the old guy Mr. X. Huyu ni mzee mtu ako busy. Uwezi kaa hapo, bibi yake ako hapo na pia uko hapo. So you just have to look for other sources. When this one is busy, you're busy yourself here.
Now, those who are clapping, I'm coming to get your opinion on this topic. So, Purity, I want to ask you one final question. So, ukiwa pale na Mr. X 1, 2 or 3, whichever the number, unakuwa unachukua selfie.
Yeah.
You make sure that both of you umechukua selfie.
Yeah.
If I had to ask you, when was the last time umechukua selfie?
Last month.
Last month?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Purity. So right now, I want to introduce my next guest, who is Grace Makosi. Grace is 27 years old, and she says that for her, she believes in being a bit more adventurous when it comes to her sex life. Grace, welcome to Real Talk.
Thank
you. Your story is a bit different in that, are you in a relationship right now?
No.
Why is that?
I don't want to stress anyone. Neither do I also want to be stressed.
So have you been stressed before?
A lot.
How?
Well, I was in a relationship that led me to this, what I'm doing right now. And it was really stressful. It's either I expected too much or he expected too much from me. So the timings were not coming anywhere near each other, and the mode of communication was not also good, and we didn't have any mode of understanding, like, okay, you don't agree, I also don't agree, but we can talk and compromise. Yeah.
Okay, so when you say what you're doing right now, so what are you doing?
I use toys. I use toys and I am having a lot of fun with them. Yeah, because anytime I need them, I just have to know where I am, if I can do it on my own, and it's cool.
And basically what you're saying is that what you use can't cheat on you?
No, never.
But a man can?
A man will always cheat. They're human beings.
So, if I had to ask you today, do you think that you'll go back into dating a physical man?
I would probably date for one reason. Either if I want a baby, and there's also an alternative to get a baby. I would either work in a children's home, adopt a child, or go to a sperm bank and get the most handsome sperms and get the baby. Done.
So basically, wewe unasema umefunga duka kabisa, kifuli, padlock na kifungu umetupa.
Shatupa.
And you're happy inside there by yourself.
I am satisfied.
Okay, I like your choice of words there. Right. I want to introduce one of our experts on tonight's topic, Elsie Wandera. She runs Purity and Purpose, and she's passionate about promoting sexual purity, especially amongst the youth. So, Elsie, you've been in the audience, and I led by saying that this is an educational discussion because we want to understand what do young people think about sex. Because, you know, the reality is that the researchers, the experts, they're raising the alarm. They're raising the alarm because they're saying more than any other demographic within the larger population, this generation is the one that is at risk. So we must first understand where are they coming from, which we have, because, and I thank all my guests for sharing their stories, but for you, because as you could see as the conversation was weaving from one topic into the next, the audience was getting excited, they were clapping in some instances they were not agreeing. But as somebody who's sitting here as a mentor and a counselor for young women on sex, what would you say?
Thank you very much. My name again is Elsie Wandera Odhiambo, and I'm the founder of Purity and Purpose. So it's been very interesting just listening to the stories. To some degree, I could actually see myself in the young women and in some of the stories they were sharing, because that's the background that I have and the passion which I come with to just work with these girls. So the generation today is one of the generation that has grown up in a very sexually saturated environment. So for example, a show like this in my years when I was growing up was never there. So we never had spaces where we could actually have conversations. So there are two extremes that we can look at with which the two generations have actually grown up with. There was one that was very silent about sex and what it is made for, whose it is, how to protect yourself, etc. And then there is this other extreme one that has grown in a very sexually saturated environment where everything we're seeing, our adverts, yani, there's nowhere you turn left or right, it's sexually loaded. I think the one thing I like to teach and to work with my girls just to help them understand is that just like a phone, for example, you have to go to the manufacturer to understand like its functionalities and what it is for. Sex is something that was created by God. And I think that's something a lot of us, very many people in fact, are oblivious of. And I say that politely because even in the church, there's a struggle to understand, okay, is it safe? Is it okay for me to have conversations about sex? When can I talk about it? When can I not? So it's to take back people to understand sex was created by God for purposes of connecting, bonding two human beings, a man and a woman. And the context within which that is supposed to happen is within marriage. And so when I listen to some of the narratives around the betrayal, the trust, the brokenness, the impact of that of sex outside of the context of marriage, just opens you up and exposes your vulnerability to another person, and that is what introduces hurt. It's what introduces guilt, shame, etc. And if you don't understand that, that's why I love what you're saying about, kufunga duka. I think we must learn to funga duka. Why? Because we must begin to value ourselves and guard that and keep it for someone that we believe this is my husband for the ladies, or this is my wife.
The majority of young women in this room have tasted the forbidden fruit. And once that happens, aren't we better off equipping them on how to have safe sex? So how can we empower those now, bado pengine wamefungua duka, but they still need to stay safe?
I think two things come to mind, okay? The only way you will know how to utilize something is by understanding what it was created for. So I go back to this, and I don't see any other way to empower these young women, is to help them understand the context for which sex was created for, which is marriage, okay? Secondly, I would love for them to begin to have a conversation around why sex? Why does it have to be sex, okay? I would love to know if anyone in this room has ever seen someone being rushed to the ICU because they didn't have sex.
I think very good question. On that note, we'll be taking a very quick break. When we come back, this conversation still continues. You can join the conversation. Let me know via the hashtag #RealTalk with Tamima. Right now, don't go too far. We'll be right back.
Porn also disconnects people from real connections because the person can't satisfy you the way that person on screen is being satisfied. So it's an illusion.
I don't compromise anything less. Most girls at my age, they can say the same thing.
Welcome back to Real Talk. Right, so if you have an opinion on tonight's topic, please get on that hashtag #RealTalk with Tamima. Let me know what your views, questions, or comments are on tonight's topic. And I want to repeat the disclaimer. This is purely for educational purposes because we must show you what the reality is on the ground. So right now, I'll introduce my next guest, Irene Kamami. So Irene is 25 years old and her struggle with sex is a bit different. Irene, welcome to Real Talk.
Thank you.
So maybe please share with us, because you told the show producers that as a young woman, you've been struggling with something, and it's not something that most people would have the confidence that you do to come out and speak about openly. Please talk to us about that.
Okay, first, before you decide to tell people or to get that courage to tell someone that you've been struggling with it, it's to accept first it's not the right thing. Though it's hard to get out of it. I've been struggling with porn addiction, which has been my consolation. Anytime I'm stressed up, the only thing I think about, or that one thing that will make me feel good, is to get my earphones on and watch something alone. That's porn. And that's what I feel like the right thing to do when I'm alone. Yeah.
So are you presently in a relationship?
Not really.
You're not dating?
No.
Have you dated before?
Long time.
A long time?
Yeah.
And when would you say that your addiction started? Like, what triggered it?
Depression. I was heartbroken. And so every time I thought of someone, I really needed that porn to take it away. Like, I feel good when doing that, and I won't disturb anyone for it. And I can do it alone. I don't need anyone. Like, no one will know my stuff. That's me. I don't have to tell anyone that I need it. I'll just watch it and get feeling good. Yeah.
So wewe umefunga duka, but what you're struggling with is the addiction. So I want to introduce my next guest, who happens to be somebody who works very closely with young people on this. She's Winnie Warogoro, and she talks to young people about the misuse and the miseducation of sex. So please welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Tamima. As you said, yes, I'm Winnie Warogoro, and I'm passionate about speaking to young ladies about sex and sexuality, healthy expression of sexuality, drawn mostly from my own experiences. And as Irene has shared, I was also struggling with porn. I was first introduced to it at 13, thought it was disgusting, but at 17, the curiosity had piqued because I was sexually active throughout high school, and it got me hooked for 8 years. And what led me to that was also that the desperation, the loneliness, the yearning for something else, you know. And as she's rightly put it, porn can lead to addiction, because porn nowadays is actually known as the new drug. You know, the way some drugs that we consume release some hormones that make us go back, or the users go back to it more and more to get a new high and a newer high. That's the same way with pornography. As we consume it, and I like saying consume because consume means that it affects you inwardly, not just view. It goes to your heart, it rewires your brain. It has very profound effects, and that's one of them. As you consume porn, it releases hormones, like drugs. It releases hormones that lead to relaxation, like heroin. Hormones that lead to stimulation and make you want more. And each time you watch, you want another high. Each time you watch, you want another high. And what happens is that the brain can no longer produce the hormones that give you that high. And after, it can be years or many months, depending on how addicted you are, you reach a plateau and nothing can pleasure you anymore. And then you find yourself, or the consumer finds themselves going into the dark alleys, and it becomes worse. Another side effect or effect of pornography is that it desensitizes you to real pleasure. You know, what is portrayed is shown as the ideal. It is shown as extremely pleasurable. It is shown as what you want. It's very appealing. And that is, let's just say the truth, it's humanly impossible to achieve what they act. First of all, they're acting.
I think it's important you clarify
yeah,
that,
they are acting. Yeah, they are acting. They are on drugs. They are high, most of them. The men have enhancing drugs for them to continue, you know, for the hours and the minutes, however long. So it's all a set. Just like we are, it's all a set. So they are acting. It is not real. So when you watch, you think that that's the real thing, and you want it with someone else, and you find that you can't achieve that with someone. So porn also disconnects people from real connections, because the person can't satisfy you the way that person on screen is being satisfied. So it's an illusion. You end up frustrated.
Well, obviously, this platform is designed so that we can talk about issues as real as possible.
Yes.
And I wouldn't want anyone to judge Irene. So, because she's admitted, I'm struggling with it. And in her mind, she's not causing any harm to anyone but herself.
Yeah.
And I have to applaud her because she knows it's a struggle. It's an addiction. So, as someone who has walked that path, and today you're actually seated here speaking, you know, from a point of empowerment, what advice would you give to her?
The advice I would give to Irene, which is what, but there's, from what I read, what first, you have to empower yourself, as you've rightly said. Porn conveys a message to the consumer. So you have to get the right message, and it is that it is not satisfying. Once you reset your mind about it and know that this is just an illusion, this is false, I can never achieve this, and it will never satisfy me. It won't achieve what a human touch, no human connection can achieve. Once you reset that false with the truth, it becomes easier to let go of it. And then when you realize that how far it's taken you from, because for me, I was unable to go back to the default, which is you're supposed to relate with someone. So it takes you so far from reality. So you have to, I would say that she starts with the truth, which is what I'm saying, which is what happened to me, or which is what I did, and I'm not judging her. It's the truth. You have to go back to that truth and realize that this is all a lie. And most importantly, it's very possible to break this addiction. There's very many instruments on the internet. You can go, if it's tempting, because I will admit, you can't fall from the addiction, but the temptations will always be there. It's a sexually saturated world. So I've taken measures on my own. I've activated safe search on Google so that no matter what I Google, it brings up safe options. On Twitter, I have blocked some tweets so that it gives me the option of, these are tweets you have chosen not to view.
So those are basically what I refer to as triggers.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes.
Those are triggers. Block the triggers. You need help. Talk to someone who can keep you accountable. Someone your age who believes that it's wrong, not someone you're struggling with, someone who can advise you and walk with you. And I would be willing to do that with her. Yes.
Irene, are you willing to do that with her? Okay. So right now, I want to introduce my next guest. My next guest, in a lot of ways, are what I believe every parent who's watching, you're like, Tamima, mi nataka mtoto wangu akue kama huyo. But we also have to get real. So I'll introduce Margaret. Margaret is 25 years old, and she's a virgin. So I want her to put into perspective for us, with all the different stories we've had, for her as a young woman in Kenya today, is it a struggle to maintain her virginity? Please help me welcome Margaret to the show. Okay, so Margaret, I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. Walking in, and you can say I'm psychic. I could read some of your minds. Some of you are looking at her tattoo, looking at her choice of dress and saying, "Ay, hapana, huyu jamaa anatudanganya." Because they believe that virgins are, you know, church girls. Umevaa nguo imefika hapa, you know, simple, quiet. So probably just tell us, because you're a 25-year-old virgin in 2019 in Kenya. So is it a struggle?
Yeah, it's been a struggle. What I say, life is a choice. But for me, I made a decision. And it has been a struggle because I've gotten a lot of teases from friends. I've lost some of the friends, some of the organization that I attend to. You find some people, they keep a distance from you. Yeah.
Because they feel like you're not cool enough?
Yeah, but for me, I think if you want something and you're into it, you'll get it. And as long as you're focused, you'll always get there.
So wewe umefunga duka?
Kabisa.
Hata haijawahi Okay, so do you date?
No, the last time I dated only for, that guy stayed like for 3 days. Then I called it a quit.
Why?
Because for me, I don't compromise anything less.
So
if I don't like it, I don't like it. If I don't want it, I don't want it.
I'm sure that in your future, you probably hope to meet a nice man, settle down with him, have children.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my Mr. Right.
And because you were here with us having all the discussions, and you had the earlier girls complaining that girls our age are playboys, you know, I might have the right intentions. So for you, even more so, because umefunga duka, are you worried that you might meet a guy and maybe he dupes you?
Yeah, sometimes I get worried. But for me, I've put God first. And for me, I can say God has saved me. Because like most girls at my age, they can say the same thing. And in this case, I don't blame our generation. It's our parents and also our society of today. You find in today's society, also in organization, they teach girls sex education, but they forget about men. Like in today's society, it's okay for men to go out there roaming their wild oats other than girls, where if a girl you do something, you are like, unaiko kando ya society. But it's high time where society, the same values they're giving to ladies, also they do it for men. If they do that both, you'll find the society will change a lot.
Elsie, I want to rope you in on that because I feel like she's made a very powerful point on the point of purity. Because as girls are taught, you must keep it for marriage. And I'm going to have a follow-up show on this where I'll just have a room full of young men talking about the same subject. And in that room, I kid you not, boys are socialized differently. If anything, they believe that the more, the better.
So I think we have to go back to how, these young boys were raised, So it was like almost like a conquest, if you may. Who will sleep with the most number of women, who will have more girlfriends, etc. But like she said, for her as a girl, she's told she needs to cross her legs, yeah? But I think the two conversations need to happen. Same with the girls and same with the boys. But I'll want to encourage the men especially to rise up. Because me as a woman who is teaching women on sexual purity, I cannot have the conversation with men. Right. There is something that only a man will be able to call out of another young man. And there's only so much I can also call out of Maggie, for example, because we are both women. And because it's a safe space, you don't want to mix those two genders, especially when you're having conversations about sex. But on society's role, yes, we have to call ourselves out and say, for example, the things that we're doing, the way society is going, the rate at which we're going right now. If you read the news, it is startling to know that at the age of 20, there are no more virgins. That should disturb us, and that should make us think, what are we doing to actually protect those younger people? There are stories we hear of young children being molested as young as even 6 years old. It's very disturbing. And then this is also happening between, their age group. So it's not even sometimes it's an older person. Sometimes it's still the younger person who is molesting that other person. I think it's to go back to telling these people and telling these young people what sex was created for.
Absolutely.
Human beings are relational. We were created for relationships between a man and a woman. And that is why when we desire to connect physically, that is part of our anatomy. That is part of what God has put within us. But the thing is, will we be taught? Can we be taught how to wait? Can we be taught how to say no, to value ourselves? Because we are a prized possession that God has created. We were not created to be taken advantage of or to be used and to be played with, to be objectified, for example, in pornography and in these other shows, for example. So I think for us, it's about creating that stand and telling our people, and not mixing, not being like in a gray area.
We have to have the conversation directly.
We have the conversation directly.
And as real as possible.
And no one is going to have the conversation with your children. So if you're expecting the church to have the conversation with your daughter, I'm sorry. It is not the church's responsibility.
Or celebrities.
Or celebrities.
Because that is where the sexualization starts.
Yes, it is your responsibility as a parent to have that conversation with your child so that they're not introduced to anything else from anyone else. You are doing your role to protect them and to give them the information that they require to go out there.
I want to ask the ladies in the audience a question. Do you believe that today, when you're in a relationship or dating, lazima ufungue duka? Is that the reality with the boys, that if you're in a relationship with a boy, it is expected, duka imefunguka? Who agrees with that? Maybe that's your personal experience. Who feels like that is the reality? Tamima. To be in a relationship, all my friends in relationships I know that they're having, wamefungua duka. Who disagrees and says, no, I can be in a relationship, lakini nimefunga duka? Okay, I like that this time round, the funga duka voices are louder. And bottom line, what we're telling you is that you have to make the right choice for your life. If you're a young person, stay informed, get educated, Know what your options are. If you're a parent, do not run away from this conversation. If you cannot have it with your child, you can reach out to other mentors, whether in church, school, older siblings, because we are living in very different times. Well, on that note, I want to thank you so much for tuning in on tonight's topic. It's a huge one. We definitely cannot exhaust it in this one sitting, but I want to encourage you, in case you want to catch up more on the show, go check out the Switch TV YouTube page on this episode, and of course other Real Talk shows as well. But right now, that is it from me, Tamima, and I want to thank all my guests on this show for coming on this platform, sharing their stories, and you for watching, and my audience for participating. I'll see you next time.
Special thanks to E+ for medic and ambulance services.